Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Given Props with Brad and Joe. I'm Joe, and Brad is the other voice.
Hello.
See? And I'm recording from Sports Dump Studios, my closet in my bedroom. And Brad, where are you recording from today?
Just another Residence Inn. No,
Wow, just bounce. Are you a secret shopper for Residence Inn?
I am. Well, not anymore.
No.
Now I am. Everyone knows who I am.
The world knows. Oh,
I'm actually at my sister's place. Uh-oh, what happened? Did we just lose the title of the show?
we lost my studio title, and the lighting's better now, though. And
Look,
so is the signal.
we're all just excited you're wearing a shirt this time, Joe.
It's true. If you're a regular viewer, God bless. God bless. But last time I showed off my farmer's tan, which I'm still showing off. I'm just not showing off the untanned portion anymore. This would be quite a skin condition if it was. I was recently in
You're a dermatologist.
Yeah, I do anyway. Anyway, I was going to get into being back home, but screw that. Let's get right into some propping.
Here we go.
And of course, you know, we would be remiss. It's once every 4 years, or if there's a pandemic, once every 5 years and then 3 years. But the Olympics are happening right now. Brad, did you know that?
Someone told me about it. Yeah. I like that this is called the 2020 Olympics, by the way.
It's 2020, and then that zero is being repurposed to say one at the end, I think. So it's a double entendre year thing.
Interesting.
It is not, but it's about the most interesting thing in these Olympics. And again, if you don't have Peacock, they're saving all the good stuff for Peacock. You know,
well, it's a really smart move by Peacock to limit their audience and by NBC to limit their audience as much as possible. What they could have done is said, the Olympics are on NBC and we're going to promote Peacock a lot on NBC, but instead they said, nope, see if you can find Peacock. And then
people who watch the Olympics are often old.
Yeah.
And don't have Peacock and never will be able to figure it out.
Probably not.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, you know, we're not the marketing experts, but neither are the people who plan that for them. No. But we do have some NBA Olympics an over under, or where there'll be more of, you know, like they have the medal counts and you can get those props anywhere. But my question for you is, now again, I'm going to give you some background. The Olympic Village, you know, there's a lot of protocols, including they made these very uncomfortable beds apparently, and they don't hand out condoms like they usually do for the Olympics. But at the same time, people can't really go outside the Olympic Village at all. So they're all kind of still there in the village. So my question to you is, what will there be a higher percentage of overall, like a medal total at the end, total number of athletes with COVID from this Olympics or with an STD from this Olympics? Not to say there won't be some overlap.
Well, yeah, well, that's right. One can often lead to the other, right? Because if you have COVID, if you test positive, I'm guessing you have to quarantine somewhere in the Olympic Village, which my guess is, like, you'd be so bummed out that you wouldn't be, you've been training for years to get to do the pommel horse, and then you find out that COVID, now you are relegated to some other place in the village with the other COVID.
The COVID dorm. Yes.
The COVID wing is where the hooking up's really happening.
Yes. Rampant.
And if you think the beds are uncomfortable in the healthy part of the Olympic Village, imagine where they're sticking these COVID folks. And so the only way, you know, to be more comfortable, I would assume, is to
do it. Yeah. And again, we're talking about world-class athletes. So that's where the bed thing is a mistake, because there's, you know, there's not a limberer group in the world than Olympic athletes, I'm going to guess.
There is not a limberer group.
Yeah.
More limber or limberer?
Limburger. The Germans are Limburgers. All right. So I also want to talk about some of the events, some of the athletic events, or are they? And I'm not about the new ones that they bring in, but like there are certain, and sometimes I rail against the 1%, Brad. You know, I have that in me. And I feel like some of these sports, like the horse sports or like rowing, you got to buy your way into those. Like, there's no natural talent that somebody's like, hey, this kid in the city, we got to get this kid a horse. You know,
Well, it's a good point. Like
Bruce
horseback.
Springsteen's daughter was an Olympian
Is that right?
in the horse competition.
Really? Okay. I like that. I
Because you
mean,
love the boss.
I love the boss. Is there anything more American than Bruce Springsteen and horses? I mean,
Is there anything more American than the boss's daughter getting a horse?
that no is the answer. But I don't know that I feel the same way about rowing. Like rowing feels like it's less that you need a lot of money. It's more unless you feel like it's a upper.
Well, it's Ivy League schools. I mean, who's rowing?
Well, I understand, but ultimately, everyone has access to a river.
Yes.
And
Not everybody, but I live in Nebraska.
but it wasn't necessarily a socioeconomic issue.
No,
Yeah.
and rowing in the past had more of a practical function.
Yeah, it used to be for transportation, right?
Yeah.
Feasibly.
Go ahead.
I mean, that sport to me is not as exciting as like windsurfing, where those guys are humping the air to try and make the thing
That was
move.
today, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that's exciting. And then
that's the sexual frustration coming out there.
I think that's right. And then the other one that is handball, team handball. I want to like it, but the rules feel fluid to me. They don't feel like
the number of dribbles seems arbitrary, and then that used to be one of my favorite sports to play in gym class.
Yeah, for the same reason. Yeah, but when you're watching,
score. Yeah,
watching, you're like, what are we doing here?
And that's the Olympics answer the question of why hasn't handball caught on more as a sport? Because when it has the opportunity, it doesn't catch your attention.
It's not. I mean, I guess not. I don't understand how a foul is a foul in that sport. And then, like water polo to me is essentially handball, but it's in the water, and because it's in the water, I kind of actually get the rules a bit more.
Yep.
But
and well, it almost moves a little slower in terms of end to end. Most water polo players, like 95% of them, are from California.
Yeah,
because you have to have that pool, like that pool culture. All right, so that's a lot on the Olympics. We didn't even talk about the NBA because it's become boring again. Like they lose a game.
You mean the men's Olympic, U.S. men's Olympic
team.
Olympic
team? Yeah.
Talk about there. They lost one game and everyone lost their minds and said it was over. And now my guess is they're gonna win the gold.
Oh, and what is better than a "told you so" Popovich?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the most exciting thing that's happened in the U.S. men's basketball team is that they've replenished the injured players with a really interesting array of guys that should never be on an Olympic team.
JaVale McGee getting a medal.
JaVale McGee getting a gold medal is pretty fantastic. But it starts to make you wonder, like, well, why aren't we extending that same courtesy to the I don't know, Malik Monks of the world and
very topical. Let's transition right there. Malik Monk, recent free agent signee. And I believe Malik Monk is 23, 24 years old.
He's young.
This is relevant. So what is our number? The Lakers looks like they're pretty good. Our number is 68.5. Now, of course, that's a big number in the NBA.
Yeah. What's this one for?
This is the average age of the Lakers starting roster.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And I don't know. I mean,
it's an exaggeration, but only by half. Yeah, like 34 might be right on the number.
Well, LeBron's 37 or something, right?
Yeah, and I think Melo's going to be 35 or 36.
I think he could be 36 or 37.
Oh, yeah, he's older than LeBron.
I think he's 37.
And LeBron's 36.
And then who else is on that team now?
Well, AD's like 28.
Yeah, he's the young guy.
He is.
And then there's someone else who's old on that team too, right?
Oh God, they got Trevor Ariza.
Ariza's not young.
Oh God, he was on a Kobe championship Laker team.
I mean, it is
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard, also 37. They basically, a lot of these guys are old on that team, are old enough to know, like they watched Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when it first aired. Do you know what I mean? Like the references those guys get are the same ones that we get, and that's not good.
No, they knew Fresh Prince as a rapper.
They knew him as a rapper. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. These guys remember what Nintendo was. You know what I mean?
Yes. And this is, by the way, if you have the Nintendo Online thing, I just found out, like for your Switch, you can get all these old games. So that's
I heard about that.
I haven't done it, but you can. So 34 is actually a pretty accurate number. Now 68, they're not getting that many wins or even close to it. But this is like
Contavious Caldwell Pope. He may be 32, but he looks 48.
Well, he's not on the team anymore.
He's gone.
He's gone. He was in the Russell Westbrook.
Thank you, Westbrook.
How do we forget that? That's where he's gone.
Westbrook is a spring chicken at 34 on that.
I think he's actually 32, but nobody has more miles than that guy.
Most miles.
He has the most miles of a non-Tibbs coached player in the NBA.
He really does. And yeah, no one will expend more energy at that age. And I really don't understand what they're doing exactly.
They're going all in. This is the Malone, Gary Payton.
They signed Gary Payton. They're going all in. They're going all in for a championship in 2008. Is what?
Yes. I have one other little NBA thing, and I'm going to do you a favor, Brad. Long time ago, Seth Meyers. This is also going to begin the name dropping.
Name drop. We need to have a button. We need to have a button every time there's a name drop.
Name drop. Yep. It'll be our cough button. So whenever you hear a cough, I'm dropping a name. For years, right around the 2000s, he and I, at the beginning of each season, would have a bet on like Yankees, Red Sox.
Sure.
And then the Yankees were pretty good, but they didn't win in those 2000s. They didn't win any titles till 2009. And by then, Seth was too famous to continue the prop bets. But what I'm saying here is, I'm going to start one with you with Knicks Bulls. Because I think the Bulls improved more than the Knicks, but they had a little more improving to do.
The Bulls managed to wedge Alex Caruso away from the Lakers, who is a guy who is 26 but looks 46.
Yes.
Actually, he leaving the Lakers makes them look younger.
Yes.
Actually increases their age.
Yeah. You see guys like that in baseball occasionally. Maybe in football, a quarterback will look like older than.
I do like Caruso with this hairline. I'm a Caruso fan.
Yes.
Yeah. Knicks Bulls. I think the Knicks still have a bit of an edge just because they came together last year. And
so, what if I give you 2 games more wins for the season, and I'll give you 2 games?
Oh, this is a bet we're making.
Yes.
Yeah. You give me 2 games. Yeah, that's about right. Well, what do you think? How many games do you think the Knicks are going to win this season? Because I can tell you how many I think the Bulls are going to win.
51.
Yeah, I think the Bulls are going to win 48. So that's 3 games.
Want to say 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5. We'll check back in on this.
All right, so let's bet 100 units.
Gentlemen's bet.
Pennies. Yeah, gentlemen's bet on Knicks. And again, my point is, once I started doing this with Seth, other elements of his career
Forget
took
the
off.
Gentleman's bet. Let's do it for a appetizer plate of cheeseburger egg rolls at the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, Cheesecake Factory. Maybe we get them as a sponsor eventually.
I hope so.
All right, so that was our Lakers and NBA talk, and then we've got this bet that we can revisit with Knicks, because it's nice when the Knicks and Bulls are at least relevant, because those cities like that rivalry.
They're like original 6 teams in hockey. You need to have the Bulls be good. Exactly.
Yes. Even though the Knicks have really never been good, a little bit, not in my lifetime. All right, NFL. Boy, this is hitting a lot of the teams that we all love, but we like teams with big profiles. How many? This is an over/under for you, and maybe I'll give context after the over/under. But you already know the context. How many more New York Giants players will retire before they set their opening day roster? Now, this is retire.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to explain to me a little bit what's going on, because I know that you're up on what's going on with the Giants.
The Giants have had 3 players retire in 4 days. Not 3, like retire. They had this big brawl.
Retiring, or are they just packing up their bags and saying, "Screw you guys, I quit"?
They haven't announced any cuts yet, so it's not like they were cut and retired. They
is this a ploy to suddenly get to play for the Bucks, or like what's happening right now?
Well, one of them I think was a free agent signing or a trade signing, and then he retired after he got it traded or something.
I love it. I love it.
They have another Belicheck guy.
Every time I don't get a call back for an audition, I'm going to just start saying I retired. I'm going to tell my agent I'm retired. And then they're going to go, really, really? And
so you're saying that these are retirements in kind of like face saving.
I think so.
I think the coach is a despot.
Really? The coach's name is Joe Judge.
Joe Judge. Exactly. And that's
how many New York, what's the over under on New York Post headlines on the sports page this fall that have something like, Judge Rudy, or like, Judge Joe?
Yeah.
Don't judge Brooks
team
cover. Well, I need to know who's another player on that team. Saquon
Barkley.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't judge a Barkley by its, you know what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. There's going to be a bunch of those.
Yeah.
It's basically they're just working back. There's an entire room at the New York Post where there's just 3 guys sitting around
working headlines with Judge.
All different combinations they can do with puns.
Here's one. Barkley gets 40 carries, 250 yards. Rush to judgment.
Love that, Joe.
Okay. All right. We could work for the New York Post, which we probably could have for a long time.
I didn't pass. You got one. All I did was said that this is an area.
That's how it works. Brainstorming, folks. That was improv. Yes. And so you kind of are dismissing these retirements. I'm going to, because I want to have that New York, overstated Chris Russo, even though he's from San Francisco, but kind of, turning a molehill into a mountain. I'm going to say that this is going to be the start, in the same way that, like, there's all these, when a president is out of control, everyone resigns and threatens to resign. Yeah. This is like an out of control president, and all of his deputies are retiring to show his incompetence.
I see.
Like would happen in real life. The guy won't catch it.
These retirements are like a falling on the sword for the cause, like a Liz Cheney move.
Yes. These are the Liz Cheneys of the New York Giants.
I mean, yeah, I guess. It feels a little bit like
they're forever losing their place in the fraternity of people who get bossed around by coaches.
These are martyrs. These are martyrs.
These will be patriots someday. New England Patriots is what I mean. It's all part of a ploy. All right. So moving on. I don't even know how long we're going, and it doesn't matter.
No, let's keep moving. We have a couple more left.
We do. We're hitting all the sports here. The Cubs. Now, this is revisiting something we asked last episode. Who will survive the Cubs purge? Turned out nobody. If you're going to do a purge.
Yeah, it's that thing where if you're going to, you get food poisoning and you're just like, I just have to vomit and poop out everything.
Simultaneously.
They did it.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, Contreras and Hendricks are the 2 exceptions, and I honestly don't know that those guys will be around.
I can't imagine. There's no reason. Certainly for Hendrick, no. A catcher at that age, get something for him.
Hendricks could be a 20-game winner, believe it or not, this year. I think he's got 14 wins.
Boy, the Cubs know all about that. 20-game winners on teams that just blow.
Fergie Jenkins. I mean, there's a bunch
of guys. Maddox.
I think Mark Pryor might have been a 20-game winner, although
those teams were okay. And Sutcliffe was on fire when he came to the Cubs and they made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, that was a total purge. That was a total purge.
And a total purge, and we talked about this off air. Go ahead if you have more about the purge, because you're the Cub fan, lifetime.
Really, I mean, I was happy to see that Rizzo and Bryant and Baez all in their debut games hit home runs, and it feels like a little bit of like they blew a kiss slash gave the finger to the Ricketts family. You know,
Rizzo, first Yankee ever to have an RBI in his first 6 games. Baez already has a signature slide with the Mets. Did you see that?
no,
Oh, he's coming in at home, slides head first, 2 hands. So the catcher's over here, going to try to tag this hand, putting the mic down.
Swim move.
He goes like this, and then he stops his hand as the catcher goes to tag, pulls it back, comes in, tags with his other hand around.
Okay, he's done. I mean, if you go look at
That's his move.
Oh yeah, he's he's a creative slider and a creative.
You know what? If I was a catcher, I'd put my knee right on his head.
I was gonna say you there's got to be a way to defend against that.
You put your knee right on his head.
The old version of baseball, which wasn't that long ago, people would just clock him. But the truth of the matter is, he's kind of a fire plug of a guy. Like he's not that guy could be an NFL running back.
Running back.
Yeah,
Austin Eckler type, kind of like, yes.
He's not going to be an easy guy to collide with.
He would, yes, he is shifted. He'd be a great soccer player.
Absolutely.
You know, baseball has maybe a wider breadth of athleticism than other sports, you know, because even in the NFL, an offensive lineman can run faster than us, and they're 300 pounds. Yeah. But he is really amongst the rare athletes.
He's an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, as a Cub fan, I was sorry to see it get blown up. And then as a Cub fan, I'm excited about, you know, I was looking at the roster today, and some of the names here. I mean, I'm just going to try and pull some up for you. In the starting lineup today, there's a guy named Dykman, Austin Romine, who I didn't know.
Former Yankee.
I didn't even know he was still in the league.
Solid backup.
Starting shortstop.
It's not Romine at short.
Romine at short. There's a guy, my favorite guy currently is a guy named Frank Schwindel, who's playing first base, and he literally sounds like the guy who's replacing the iconic, you know, guy that left. Like Rizzo's a great name.
Yeah.
It happens to be a great player. It all fits together. He's a legendary Cub. And they're like, who's going to go in, coach? And they're like, Schwindel. And it's just like this nerdy.
In the movie, at one sequence is like batting third, Rizzo. Crowd goes crazy. And then weeks later, batting third, Schwindel. It's silence, and somebody go, "You suck, Schwindel."
You just hear someone, not Frank Schwindel. You know?
Oh no!
Oh no! Even the first name, everything about it is just like Tony Rizzo. Is just got a ring to it.
Yeah, it does.
Frank Schwindel.
That's the lead in a '50s musical. Tony Rizzo.
Yes, and Frank Schwindel is your accountant. Do you know what I mean? If you're lucky, he's a great accountant.
Frank Schwindel is the guy who wrote the book for the musical that Tony Rizzo is the star of.
He did the lyrics. Yeah.
Frank Schwindel. All right. Well, here's what I'm going to ask you, because this gets into the socioeconomic Wrigleyville area, which they have built up, as you and I both know intimately, because we spent so much time working for free right down the street from there. And that's all gone now. That's erased.
There's a hotel there.
Yeah.
There's a UFC gym there, which I think is sort of a funny location for that, but
maybe appropriate. Wrigleyville has a bit of that element. And so I suspect the owners have put all this money into the area and haven't really been able to squeeze out the appropriate amount of money that they think they're going to get. So now they're going to make up for these contracts for the next, well, this will come into play, and I'm going to amend it because baseball, things can happen. Do the Cubs make the playoffs in the next 7 years?
I think they do. I think they do. I think that if we're following a schedule where, you know, you're cleaning house this year and next, and you're probably adding a free agent or two, around the edges.
Maybe a pitcher to trade or something.
Yeah, nothing crazy. My guess is, 3 years from now, you start to have a competitive club. By year 5, you'd like to think they're competing for the playoffs. But yeah, you're right. It's
not the GM, it's the owners.
I couldn't agree more.
And
they could not re-sign any of those guys. And all of those guys are happy that they were sent to contending teams in big markets that with fan bases that actually care about baseball. That's no small feat.
No.
That's a classy deal. It's as classy as it is unclassy that the Cubs literally could not pony up enough money to any of those guys.
Yeah, true. Now, yeah. Well,
what else do we got?
Well, first of all, I'll just end by saying you got Nick Madrigal for the next 5 years, so at least you got that coming.
I love Nick Madrigal. There's nothing I enjoy more than a decently fielding second baseman with zero power who never strikes out. This is my favorite thing about. Like, he hits 300 and he never strikes out. Let me tell you something. The one thing you don't need when you have no one to drive people in is a contact hitter that's constantly being stranded on base.
Right.
Over under is how long until Nick Madrigal retires from the Cubs in order to go to a team where he can actually score a run.
We will see. Yeah, there's nobody behind him there.
You know who's behind him? Frank Schwindel.
All right, let's end with what is the most popular thing. Oh, actually, I got 2 little things here. This is we'll continue the name drop button. I sent out a text to producer / writer / actor, Emmy-nominated actor of Ted Lasso. Your friend and mine, Brendan Hunt. You guys both share an incredible love of obscure Bulls players.
Coach Beard
from Ted Lasso. Also, not just plays a soccer coach, but for years, lived for 5 years in Amsterdam, became a big soccer fan, football fan, as he would call it. So Messi, as you may or may not know, I'm sure you know, it was like soccer news that made the regular news, not returning to Barcelona, according to the team's website. So Brendan has given me some percentages on where he's going to end up. He says it's 50%. He ends up at PSG, Paris Saint-Germain. Saint-Germain. 19% he ends up at Man City, which is Manchester City, owned by the United Arab Emirates or something like that. Okay. 30% that he returns to Barca, and this was all some kind of like marketing / negotiating ploy, and 1% other, which is impressive when you consider there are literally thousands of professional soccer teams out there.
Is the 1%, to me, the 1% wants to be like he plays for the LA Galaxy or something. He just goes like.
I think he wants to play for the Miami team eventually because he vacations in Miami a lot.
Okay.
And but will Miami be underwater in 3 years?
It's a really good question too. Yeah, we should do an entire episode, just a really depressing one about the environmental impact on the coastline,
on the great sports cities that won't exist anymore.
That's its own episode. My guess is he is ready for a change of scenery and a new challenge. And Paris is Paris, man.
Yeah, that's what I think. Ignoring everything else, like Manchester, apparently the city has come a long way from the coal town or whatever it was, some depressing town in the 80s or whatever, but it ain't Paris. And if you're Messi,
used to make guillotine. We have one. I mean, if you're Messi,
it's got to be Paris.
I think if you're Messi, it's different than LeBron. It's no different than LeBron. It's like at some point you're like, I get it. You're going to go play in LA or New York, and he went to LA and gathered as many other octogenarians as possible. Yeah. But I think Messi goes to Paris.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned that about LeBron and these guys going to stuff like this, because when you're an athlete like those guys, you're going through the last years of your prime, as well as kind of.
Sorry to break in. Update here. Austin Romine just hit a 3-run homer against Craig Kimbrell. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Whoa.
Yes.
He knows. Well, he would know Kimbrell, I guess.
He would.
So I think these guys have like a midlife crisis as they're having a retirement crisis, like on top of it. So those last years, yeah, they're going to act like they're going to go to LA, they're going to go to Miami, they're going to go to Paris, and, they're going to just kind of.
I think so, right? I mean,
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you is also the question. Like,
well, also he would be the greatest. I mean, look, he's arguably he's certainly one hand greatest in history.
yeah,
And some would say greatest ever, and others would say one of the top two. But
yeah,
Paris has never had anything
not like that. And they have some great players, but yeah,
yeah.
in one of the greatest cities in the world. Not that Barcelona is not.
Barcelona is amazing.
Have you been? You probably have.
I have.
You're a world traveler. All right. The last thing, this is something, I don't know if I sent it to our producer who keeps saying he's going to send us stuff. Where's our stuff, producer Adam? I don't know if I sent it to him or he sent it to me, but there was a wedding that I don't know who put it out. I'm assuming it was one of the groom's friends put out like bets for the wedding. How long will the speech be? Will joking, will the bride leave? It would have been awful if the bride had left and that like was one of the bets on there.
Yes.
That would have been awful. Like these were all friendly things.
Sure.
So what were we supposed to say about it?
You had wanted to.
That's right. I wanted to read.
This is your. Yeah, you're going to read some. So yeah, the prop bets are so popular. It's not only the ones that we write and create.
No.
But everyone is now kind of in a gambling mindset.
Yes.
And goes outside of sports. Obviously, we hit entertainment stories. This one is about people that are betting on a wedding.
Nana F consumes 6.5 glasses of wine. That's a lot of wine for an old woman to drink.
Oh, yeah, it is. But you don't know Nana F.
And now you have the bride tells the groom, I'm not going to say the names to protect them, to shut up and or be quiet. You don't want that. That's a bad sign at the beginning of a wedding.
Yep.
My first wedding, my best man gave a speech with a puppet. That was a sign.
Was that Scoop?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that's. I mean, look. I mean, I feel like you're trying to blame the puppet for.
No, I am.
Okay. Well,
I am.
You know what? I'm okay with that. That's fine.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some others on there?
Oh, the other ones on there. Will Nana drink? Yeah. I mean, there isn't anything that's really truly cruel of like, will they get divorced?
Right.
A groomsman and bridesmaid hook up. Now, how do you prove that? This action is defined as French kissing. So do you have people like watching everybody? I feel like this might change if everyone introducing gambling into a wedding scenario, especially if you have some like honest to God degenerate gamblers, they're going to try to influence the outcome. It's going to change the whole vibe of the wedding if you have money riding on shit.
This is a really exciting. I mean, some of the ones that I think you could go with is like, if Uncle Rick is gonna, eat some food off of someone else's plate after it's been abandoned, stuff like that. There's ways,
but then you have everybody with their cell phones out, which they are anyway. Actually,
it is a little bit like everyone showing up, with their guns drawn. It's a little bit of that.
But you get some of those moments you wouldn't get otherwise. I'm going to say.
Not only that, but I mean, tell me that anyone that who throws down the amount of money they do to go attend a wedding, especially if it's out of town, that wouldn't like the opportunity to win some of the money back at that event.
That's true.
Yes.
And there's probably inter-family rivalry, so that it does.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're for. I mean, again, depending on this, it could really increase the entertainment value of the wedding, or it could really turn things, like a lot of things.
I think both things are true, and the other thing I would say is, I just would worry that you'd have a lot. The major issue you'd face is essentially a Pete Rose scenario. Just
betting on your own game.
You can't let the bride and groom bet at all. They have.
We got 15 grand on you walking away, baby.
Yeah. So
that'll happen once, and the family. Oh, That's what it will lead to. Nothing does not get led to its idiotic conclusion in this country or anywhere.
The odds on speaking now and the odds on forever holding their peace, that kind of stuff.
Yes, you're right. A lot of awkward moments. All right. Speaking of, that's how we're going to get out of this.
Yep.
With GIVIN props, we gave you some, and maybe we'll have like a Twitter page at some point, and you can give us your props there. Again, we have a de facto producer, Adam.
Yeah.
So I will de facto thank him at this point.
Thanks, Adam.
He's going to send us some banners so I don't have the thing that falls down. And then we're going to be rocking for NFL season. We'll have more NFL props. And again, we can visit the how many yards will Dak Prescott have, but yeah,
we're gonna discuss real props that exist, but we're gonna keep bringing you some that we're creating on our own that we think should exist.
Should exist. All right, man. We should exist. So there you go. Later.
Peace out.
Peace out.